This video, we're going to be breaking down in depth the two best SMGs that are currently inside Warzone at the moment to find out which one is the best. We're talking about the H4 Blixen as well as the MARCO5 SMG. If you do enjoy this style of content, don't forget to subscribe as we try to reach our goal of 50k. Click that link in the description down below and subscribe to our second channel, but let's get straight into this. So the first weapon is the MARCO5 SMG, and here is the build for that. We're using the Recoil booster, the Amaretto barrel, the slate reflector, the Perfecto stock, momentum, quick, polymer grip, 48 round drum mag, subsonic, and the skeletal underbarrel. Next up, we have the H4 Blixen SMG, very popular inside Warzone at the moment, and here is the build for this. The Recoil booster, the 17-inch F3 barrel, the slate reflector, the remove stock, fleet, quick, the polymer grip, 54 round Grenko mags, subsonic, and the skeletal underbarrel once again. We tried to keep the builds consistent for both of these weapons, and these are pretty much the meta builds for both of these guns. So that is what all the stats are based off. So we've got 4 different categories we're going to cover when it comes to both of these SMGs, and we're going to give them points along the way so we can establish which one is the best. But starting off, we've got the most important stat, which is TTK. Now, you can see the damage profile in the bottom in orange and in green with the respective weapons. Then down the middle, you can actually see the shot locations that we actually used for these TTK numbers right here. So it's a 14% head, 14% chest, 35% stomach, and everything else is going to be limbs. So quite a good portion of your damage will be based on limb shots. And overall, this is the TTK numbers we actually got here. So for the Blixen, it's a 616 millisecond TTK within that first damage range. The MARCO5 is actually a little bit quicker by about 10 milliseconds, but also extends out further as well. So that's actually a bonus to the MARCO5 within that first damage range. Now, when it comes to the second damage range, the H4 Blixen extends slightly further than the MARCO5. However, the MARCO5 does still have the faster TTK, and then the same kind of goes in that third damage drop off as well. One thing I do want to mention before we move on is that if you land one single headshot extra with either one of these SMGs, as you can see in that first damage range especially, you can get a 60 damage to the head on the MARCO5 and you get 70 damage to the head on the Blixen. You're actually going to reduce your TTK significantly because it's going to take one less shot to kill. Point needs to actually go to the MARCO5 just because it is the faster killing weapon. Next up, we've got movement speeds, and this is one really important stat when it comes to aggressive SMGs, which is definitely what both of these guns are. And you need to factor this in as well because a lot of people like to move, strafe, be able to dodge bullets as well as land your shots. So I think that's also really important to consider. Now, when it comes to ADS speeds, it's going to allow you to get your gun down quicker than your opponent, of course. That's kind of the main point. So as you can see here, with those builds, the H4 Blixen is faster. Now, across the board, for the most part, it doesn't really matter how you build these weapons. The H4 Blixen just overall, when it comes to ADS time, is a little bit quicker than the MARCO5. Then we've got the tactical sprint speed. So this is just when you're sprinting around the map with a tac sprint. The Blixen is 1 meter per second faster in that case as well. And then when it comes to the standard strafe speed, so if you're just ADSing and strafing, then the Blixen will be faster again. So definitely keep that in mind. Now, if you're firing and strafing at the same time, so let's say you're shooting at an opponent, you're trying to dodge some bullets by strafing left and right, then the H4 Blixen once again is going to be a little bit quicker. Now, when it comes to the tactical sprint to fire times, which is going to allow you to get your gun down, not when you're ADSing for the most part, but if you're going to hip fire, then the tactical sprint to fire time is going to be really important. So here in this case, again, H4 Blixen is definitely quicker. So overall, just when it comes to movement speeds, and again, we did build these weapons very, very similarly, the H4 Blixen is just going to be a faster overall weapon. So far, we're 1 for 1 on both of these weapons, so we've got a point each, and now we're looking at mag capacity, reload times, and also damage per mag, which I think is very important on pretty much any weapon. I know it's probably more important on a long-range weapon, but I still like to consider it because it will still factor into how many times you need to reload between killing enemies and which weapon is going to be better in those kind of trios and quad scenarios instead of just being a solos weapon. So again, MARCO5 on the left, Blixen on the right. And the DAM/M is basically damage per mag, and this is based on lower torso shot locations because this is where you're going to be landing most of your shots other than extremities, of course, and it's going to be based on the first damage range because you should be using these guns within the first damage range. So when it comes to the mag capacity, the Blixen is a little bit higher. When it comes to reload times, the MARCO5 is a little bit faster. So obviously there is a small trade-off there. You can choose whichever one you like. If you want a faster reload, MARCO5. You want a bigger mag, Blixen. When it comes to the actual damage per mag, however, the Blixen is actually the better weapon, and this is how I'm going to actually base this point off of, because when you're actually firing at enemies, you want to be able to kill as many enemies as possible with a single mag, and the H4 Blixen is going to be that weapon for you. So H4 Blixen takes the point here. And the last thing I want to consider here is recoil, and again we've got the MARCO5 on the left, the H4 Blixen on the right. And as you can see, the recoil was taken at a 15-meter distance, and both of these are scaled perfectly so that they can actually see the comparison. And as you can see, the MARCO5 goes upwards and then it goes straight to the right, which is a kind of weird recoil pattern. We haven't really seen this much inside Warzone until the new vanguard weapons. The Blixen goes pretty much vertically upwards for the most part, then it stops and kind of goes side to side for a certain portion of time. So if you've killed your opponent within that vertical recoil pattern, then that's actually a very easy gun to control. And the same goes for the kind of the Marco as well. If you kill your opponent within that straight recoil, then you're going to be doing pretty well. You don't really want to get to that point where it kind of caps off there. So both of these weapons for the most part are relatively easy to control, but I will have to give this point to the H4 Blixen, because as long as you're pulling down on your analog stick, you should be pretty much landing all your shots, especially within that 15-meter distance. But past that, both of these guns are not too great. The last thing I want to show you before we end off this video is the pick ratio. Now, if you've been calculating along with me, you know the H4 Blixen has won this video, because 3 out of the 4 categories, the H4 Blixen has won. And I do want to quickly point out that when it comes to the H4 Blixen right here, we've got a 5.56 pick ratio, and then obviously the MARCO5 is almost double that. Now, overall, as you've seen from the stats, the only thing the MARCO5 does better than the Blixen is basically the TTK, and even then the TTK of the Blixen is still very, very close. It's not like it's way far out, especially in that first damage range. So I'm not too sure why the MARCO5 is getting picked more than the Blixen. Even after the nerf, it's still a very good gun, and I think more people should continue to use the Blixen instead of the MARCO5. So there we have it. If you enjoyed this video and learned something new, don't forget to subscribe to the channel as we try to reach our goal of 50k. Click that link and subscribe to our second channel, and thank you very much for watching.